G'day folks, Ashley here with Ground Speed Gaming, and today I'm going to do another flight in the Cessna 152 because I love flying this thing. It's a great little aircraft and I think it's a pretty realistic depiction of what it's like to fly a 152 in real life compared to some of the other aircraft in the sim. And yeah, granted it's slow, it's a simple aircraft, but I love it. So today I'm going to do a flight from, let's have a look here, just do a quick briefing with you. Oh, that's the IFR chart version. Okay, so we're at Indianapolis Metro on the ground right now, and we're going to travel southbound to the Shelbyville VOR, and then down to the Bloomington, or Hoosier VOR, which is in Bloomington at Monroe County Airport. And then from there, track down to Virgil Grissom Municipal, which is an airport I've never actually been to, but it's near a town called Bedford. In fact, I've never heard of that town either, but it is a nice area to fly. I have flown in this area before, flown down to Bloomington and of course around the Lake Monroe area. And around, it's a couple of years ago, actually about this time of the year in October, there's all the trees are changing colours and they look beautiful. So it was actually a nice flight to do at this time of the year. I've also spent time down here at Columbus. There's a lovely restaurant in Columbus. Nice restaurants in town in Bloomington. But today's flight, the one thing I wanted to try and do was not only make reference to this visual chart, but also make reference to the IFR chart. I've never heard any mention of VFR pilots using IFR charts. Now, people might argue it's a good or a bad thing, but I actually don't. As long as the VFR pilot can interpret the IFR charts clearly, I don't see any harm in it because all the routes are already planned in magnetic. All these Victor routes, Victor 128, Victor 221. So we'll be on Victor 221 partially between Shelbyville and Hoosier VOR. And they've got various altitudes here that you need to be aware of. And as long as you're aware of what they all are and you have a copy of the visual charts with you, I don't see any harm in it for planning purposes. And of course we'll be switching between VFR chart and the IFR chart. But the altitude we're going to pick today is going to be, it's going to be 6,500 feet. And the reason being, the MEA between the longest leg is 6,000. So what that is, so we've got three different altitudes to choose from. We need to go with the 6,000 feet because 3,100 feet, that's what's called a MOCA, M-O-C-A, minimum obstacle clearance altitude. Now that's only valid up to 22 nautical miles from either nav aid. So it's 22 nautical miles from that nav aid and 22 nautical miles from this nav aid. Now the total distance between the two is 47 and 22 nautical miles between the two is 44. So there's 3 miles that you don't have coverage. So we're going to have to use 6,000. Now the 4,000 in blue is actually an altitude for GPS. Now this aircraft, I purposely have not installed the GPS on this one because I prefer using ground-based nav aids myself. They're just more fun to use. So 6,000 feet is our minimum altitude, minimum en-route altitude, and what that guarantees is not only obstacle clearance of 1,000 feet in non-mountainous terrain, 4 miles either side of this particular track, but it also guarantees you signal coverage between the two nav aids for the entire sector. And that's an important part. See, with the 3,100 feet, you're only guaranteeing signal coverage up to 22 nautical miles from each nav aid. And as you can see, this route 053 out of Hoosier, and even this other Victor 305, it's hashed out because this radial is unusable. There's probably some sort of signal blockage from a building or something, or trees or something. So for whatever reason, you can't use just the VOR alone. So that's probably why they included the GPS altitude here. But we're VFR today, so we can still use it. So it's fine. So if for whatever reason the signal did cut out and we lost the signal, that's okay. We're VFR. So it's all good. So yeah, we'll go from Indy Metro, Shelbyville, Bloomington, Grissom Municipal, not the Air Force Base, which is up north. Virgil Grissom Municipal. So they're two separate airports. Okay. And that's just the navlog for this particular flight. So Indianapolis, we are set earlier in the day. However, we're going to use the regular weather for this flight. 10 miles visibility, fuel clouds 5,000 feet, fuel 25,000 feet. No issue there. Winds are light. And this is tomorrow, so we don't need to worry about that. So from that, I can see there is no, at least for this particular airport, there's no alterness required, but because Metro doesn't have a TAF, and the weather looks fine there, as you can see by looking at the outside. And also our destination, the weather looks fine as well. There is nothing of importance here for a VFR pilot. Clearance delivery frequency is for the IFR, obstacle light, INOP. It's okay. Obstacle crane, instrument departure, that's IFR and that's IFR. So there's nothing at Indy Metro that affects us. Our destination, takeoff mins, that's an IFR thing. RNAV, IFR, obstacle lights, unserviceable, that's okay. Instrument approach procedure, IFR, obstacle lights, INOP. Runway 31, the PAPI is INOP. That's about the only thing that's going to affect us. And even then, it's day VFR, so it doesn't stop us from flying there. Some of the other airports that are en routes, we don't plan on going there, but just in case. So BAK and BMG, let's have a look here. BAK is over here, Columbus. And BMG is Bloomington, the one we're going to fly over. So if for whatever reason we need to go there, we can. So that was this one. BAK, one of the runways is closed. Taxiway's closed. Obstacle tower light, INOP. It's okay. Obstacle tower light. There's parachute jumping with an area defined 5 nautical miles of BAK up to 12,000 feet. That's actually generally in over here somewhere. So we're not planning on going there, just be aware of it. Weak turbulence, well, that's okay, not an issue. Bloomington, a taxiway, lights are INOP. They've been INOP for a long time, actually. The signage lights for the taxiways are INOP. That's a shame. So there's a lot of NOTAMs that don't really affect us. Tower lights, that's RNAV, that's IFR, that's IFR. That's for helicopters. Obstacle tower lights, INOP. That's a departure for IFR. ILS, IFR, 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 IFR. So there's no NOTAMs that are going to affect us from a VFR perspective. As for the weather, well, we're pretty much going to be in central Indiana, and as you can see, we're right smack in the middle of these high pressure systems. So the weather is freaking awesome. You can't ask for better than that. So, and the isobars are a long way apart. So, but just when you're in the center of the high, it doesn't get any better than that. All right, we've done that. Things we need to be aware of: Indianapolis Metro, aircraft takeoff landing from runway 15 during calm or wind, crosswind conditions. During crestable period, runway 15 should be the preferred runway. I think it's a noise abatement thing. And the other thing you need to be aware of is this. 500 feet above the ground, a moored hot air balloon located about 4.4 miles to the north-northwest of the airport. And what that is it's kind of prairie. It's a place you can stay, and it's like a historic town. And this balloon's actually tied to the ground, so it only vertically goes up and down, but that's actually what it is. And it goes up to 500 feet. I think it's actually closed at the moment. No, it's fine. Okay, never mind. It's still working. I think at certain times of the year, I think they stop. And as for our destination, the only thing we need to be aware of, runway 3113 is most likely the runway we're using. There's 0624. Both runways are suitable for the 152, as far as length is concerned. The airport is closed on New Year's Eve, Thanksgiving, and Christmas Day. However, we're in the simulator, so that is not an issue. There are deer in and on the vicinity of the airport, so be aware of that. There's no mention of right-hand patterns, so traffic pattern altitude is a little over 1,500 feet, which seems a bit low, but that's okay. It says 800 feet above the ground, but that's what they want. That's about all we need to know as far as the briefing is concerned. So I think we're good to go. So let's get started. Let's hop inside. Okay. got my checklist here. It's a checklist for a Cessna 150. However, I think it's safe to use in the simulator, being a 152. All right, so I just check that the circuit breakers are all in there. They all appear to be in. Just make sure that's out of the way. Yep. Okay, all the circuit breakers are in. It says alternate static. I don't know where it is in this thing. I don't know if it has one. Well, it should. But if it is, I don't know where it is in this thing. Seat back, track, and locked. Avionics, they are all off. Carburetor heat is off. Mixture, we go full rich. Slight throttle there. We'll prime it, say 4 times. 1, 2, 3. Looks good. Turn the brakes on. I'll keep my feet on the brakes as well. Make sure the prop is clear. Master on and the alternator on. Beacon light. Let people know visually that we're going to start. And we yell outside, clear prop. I'd have the window open and yell out relatively loud, but you know, you get the idea. Okay, so I had trouble starting the aircraft. This thing is sometimes actually harder to start than the real 152 and the 150s. So I don't know why it's so difficult sometimes. So I had to use a control E to get this thing started. So that was a bit embarrassing, but you know, we'll pretend it started normally. So oil pressure's good. Oil temperature's going to come up shortly. And lights, we'll taxi light on. Nav lights we can come on. Flaps are up. Heat, vent, defrost not required. Avionics, we can turn these puppies on. So transponder to standby. VHF1 on, 2, VHF1 on. And the DME, we'll turn that on too because we'll need that shortly. The ATIS and AWOS. Alright. Alright, let's have a quick look here. AWOS is at Metro here is 119375. There we go, magic, like that. Okay, let's get ready to write it down.
Observation 1300 Zulu. Wind calm. Visibility niner. Sky condition clear. Temperature 15 Celsius. Dew point 13 Celsius. Altimeter 2992.
Excellent.
Kilo Uniform Mike Papa Automated Weather Observation 1300 Zulu.
There we go. It's calm. So as you saw with the AFD, Airport Flight Directory, procedures for this airport, runway 15 is the default runway. So that's up there. You can see we're facing towards 33, which is in the opposite direction of 15. So yeah, we're going to taxi up that end for a departure to the south. Okay, let's do that. So we've got the ATIS, AWOS, the altimeter is set to 2992, just double check. Yes, it is. Altimeter is showing within 75 feet of our elevation, which is 811 feet. Excellent. That's an IFR check, but I see no harm in VFR pilots doing that same check. Transponder is on standby. ADS-B, we'll pretend this aircraft doesn't have it. The radio test, well, we did monitor. We'll pretend it's going to work. Taxi lights on. Brake test we'll do in just a moment. And while we're taxiing, we'll do the attitude indicator test, the turn coordinate test, and heading indicator to compass test. So, okay, brakes are off. We are rolling forward. Hit my brakes. My brakes work. Clear on the left, clear on the right, and clear in front. So let's go. Awesome. Here we go. I think they've actually done a pretty good job with this airport. It is an airport I did install from flightsim.to, but compared to the default one, I couldn't actually tell the difference. So I apologise to whoever created it. I'm sure you made some differences, but I couldn't tell. So it still looks good either way. All right, with the turns coming up, that's where we do our taxi checks. So we've got to make sure we're clear on the left, clear on the right, so there, and obviously clear in front. Slow down a little bit. Alright, so we're going to do a right-hand turn. Right turn, left skid. The DG is turning in the correct direction, the wings are staying level, and the compass is turning freely. We're clear on the right, clear in front and on the left. Left turn, right skid, DG is turning in the correct direction, the wings are remaining level on the artificial horizon, and the compass is still free swinging. That's good. I believe there are only IFR checks, but once again, I see no harm in VFR pilots doing those same checks. Because the worst thing you not always hear about, but occasionally you hear about is VFR flying into IFR conditions. And honestly, if you're not trained on IFR, you will not last very long. It's very difficult if you have no idea what you're doing. But if you have a familiarization with all these instruments, you can get yourself out of it. And that is one of them, artificial horizon. But they train you to operate IFR without it as well. Because they do sometimes fail, because it relies on these vacuum gauges. This is the older ones. The more modern ones, the glass cockpit ones, are a lot more reliable. They're laser gyros, not mechanically spinning gyros. They're just more accurate. But anyway, this part of the airport is slightly downhill sloped, so you do actually pick up speed normally. Some airports I've flown to in the sim, they actually do depict the uphill and the downhills slightly, so I was actually pretty impressed with that. So I think this kind of implies that it's downhill. Anyway, I think it looks good, the way they've done this airport. So just going to the far corner here, the wind is calm, so there's no wind direction for us to face into for the run-up. And when turning, when I straighten up, before I stop, I always straighten the nose wheel. Whoa, okay, we've gone too far forward. But you always straighten the nose wheel before you come to complete stop, otherwise it's actually quite difficult to start again when your nose wheel is cocked to one side. So I try and do that. Alright, so we got the run-up checks. So brakes are on, the fuel selector is obviously on, the engine is still running, that's excellent. Trim is set for takeoff, so it's pretty much set. There's no specific marker, but it's approximately at the takeoff area. Flight controls, obviously we need to be able to see those. Make sure they're free and correct. Make sure it doesn't hit your leg, doesn't hit your knee board, or your instructor's knee or anything like that. And the beauty of this thing is you can do it from outside as well. Look at that. Looks awesome. Looks good. I'm happy with that. Also there's an autopilot check for this as well. So to do the autopilot check, all you do is put the autopilot on, put it on heading mode. Oh yeah, we need to see where it's going. Yep, excellent. Forgot about that, so I'll put the heading bug.
Trim in motion. Trim in motion. Trim in motion.
I've never heard that before.
In motion.
Make sure it goes back. Whoa, that's pretty extreme. And we make sure we can turn it off as well. Okay, that's pretty extreme. I've never actually seen that before. Definitely not in real life. Okay, instruments. Airspeed's reading 0. Artificial horizon is level. We're assuming that's the correct time. Altimeter is set to 29902, which is the altimeter setting at this place right now. It's within 75 feet. The VORs, actually we're going to set that because we're actually going to make use of those. And 156. 156 to Shelbyville. So what that is, set this to 156. There it is over there. And that'll be 156 to the nav aid. That looks about it there. We'll use both of them. That looks about it. And also the nav aid, Shelbyville is 116.15. 1, 2, 615. Excellent. We've still got red flags on both of them. Obviously, we're not receiving it yet, which is realistic. We would not receive them until we are airborne. The VSI is reading 0. It's not a required instrument for either VFR or IFR. However, it is a very useful instrument to have, so it's always nice to see when it's working. And our compass is reading 045. Make sure we're reading correct. There we go. Make sure that's aligned correctly. Very important. And the turn coordinator is looking good there too. That's instruments. Well, actually also the fuel quantity and oil temperature's rising and pressure's looking pretty good. Oops, I should be at 1,000 RPM. Sorry about that. I should have done that as soon as we came to a stop here. Mixture is fully rich. Primer it is. Assume that it's locked. And we're going to go to 1,700 RPM. And normally you put your hand on the control column because you're going to increase the airflow over the tail section, so you don't want it to start flopping around. And let's check the mags. Left mags. That's okay. Back to both. Right mags. Looking good. So basically all that is this is a 4-cylinder engine, and there's 2 spark plugs in each cylinder. And there's the left magneto and the right magneto. There's a left magneto creating a spark for each spark plug in each cylinder, and the other magneto creates a spark for the other spark plug in each cylinder. So if you were to lose one magneto or the other, you'll still get sparks in every cylinder, but only for one spark plug instead of 2. That's all that is. Carburetor heat, so we'll just pull that back. Looking for an RPM drop. Excellent. RPM dropped. That means there's no carburetor ice. Carburetor heat off. RPM increases. If there is ice, when you pull the carburetor heat on, it'll melt the ice in the carburetor. It'll run through the engine. A bit rough running, but because the ice is gone, the RPM will actually increase because more airflow can flow through the carburetor. But because the RPM dropped when we applied heat, there was no ice. Vacuum indicator, it's in the green, looking good, and the vacuum is for the artificial horizon and the directional gyro. The turn coordinator, although it is a gyro, it is actually, as it says there, electric. The ammeter, it's on the far right over there, is looking good, it's looking positive. Oil pressure, it's in the green. Oil temperature is in the green. Back to idle. Make sure our engine doesn't stop. It's the last thing you want when you pull the engine back to idle. Looking good. Alright, back to 1,000. And throttle friction, which is here, we don't need to play with in the sim. Flaps, we're going to use 0 flaps. You can only use flaps for a short field takeoff with no obstacle, because all it does is reduces the takeoff run by 10%. That's all it does. Mixture is fully rich. Carburetor heat is off. Pitot heat we're not using. Transponder. We'll put that on altitude now. We are going to squawk 1200 because we are VFR. Heading bow, we're going to put that on our initial runway heading for now, which is runway 15. And once we get airborne to a decent height, at least 500 feet, we'll then take up, well, actually it's essentially runway heading anyway. It's the direction we'll track. Doors and windows, just make sure they're secure. Push on the door and the window, make sure they stay closed. Don't want them popping open during the takeoff roll or in flight. Worst case scenario, if they do pop open, they're not going to fly off because the airflow is going to keep them closed, but it's going to be noisy because the door's going to be cracked open. Not dangerous, but just noisy. Landing lights on strobe, so you can put those on now because we're about to head out there. Time. We'll actually be able to update our estimates with the use of DME, the VOR DME. So, but it is important to know at the time. It's when you don't have any reference to any nav aids at all that you actually really need to note the time. All right, good to go. Here we go. Make sure there's no one coming. Hey, turn. What the? I don't know, sometimes these things. And you duck down and have a look properly. Indy Metro, Cessna 152 Alpha Sierra Hotels entering runway 15 for a departure to the south. Indy Metro traffic. Yeah, it's harder to do proper visual looks in this thing. So, and we're climbing to 6,500 feet, so we're going to go full throttle, provided the runway's clear. RPM's increasing. Airspeed is alive. Runway's clear. And let's rotate. Gently pull back. There we go, that's good. And we're looking for a 66 knot climb. That's pretty good. That's the best rate of climb in the 150. So we'll just use that in this. And I'll stick the autopilot on heading mode, and we're also going to go to climb. So what's the rate of climb right now? 700 feet, that's good. Okay. Okay, the VOR has been picked up. So we'll just... Oh. Yeah, I had to reset this thing because the aircraft crashed, so I forgot to reset this. Crashed on takeoff. Yeah, it was not pretty. So let's just go slightly to the left. And we'll identify this one. Nav 1, tuned and identified. Nav 2. They are both tuned to Shelbyville. So let's go a bit more to the left there. Continue our climb. We can go to a slightly higher rate of climb. Surprising. Keep an eye on that speed though. It will wash off if we're not careful. So we're getting closer to 156. And we'll just set this up 156 right on the way. That's about there. That's on 156. Yep, that's about the same. Alright, excellent. Okay, that's normally how I see things in here. Alright, it's the climb checklist. We have full power, mixture is rich for the time being. Instruments are looking good so far. The speed's okay. We are above 66 knots. Climbing positive. We're tracking towards Shelbyville. We are getting towards the track. Once we get on track, we'll make a slight right heading change. BSI is looking good. DG is looking good. And my feet work needs a bit of work. Yep, there we go. Awesome. Landing light and taxi light, they can come off. And we're not going to open any flight plans, but we're climbing to 6,500 feet. This sector would not be hemispherical, but it's because the next sector, and this is a relatively short sector, so. I don't know if we can pick up the ident for the DME. It does it every 30 seconds, I'll leave it on. There's no volume on it. Interesting, not getting any speed or minutes, even though they're completely wrong if you're not going tracking towards it. 156, we can turn our heading. That's strange. Turn back to 156 and see which way the wind blows us, if any, because it was calm on the ground, but that doesn't mean anything airborne. Alright, speed's getting to 166, so let's just reduce the rate of climb. Looking good outside. Yeah, that's interesting. We haven't got any ground speed or... yeah, it's interesting. It's only accurate if you're tracking directly towards or away from... Well, minutes, you only if you're tracking towards it, but ground speed's accurate if you're tracking towards it or away from it. Strange. It worked the other day, the other time, the other flight. But so far everything's looking good. Fuel, headings, whatnot. We will check the compass is aligned with, or the DG is aligned with the compass when we get back to cruising level. 6,500 feet. So obviously we have a little over 1,500 feet to go. Speed's looking good, so we're not going to stall or anything like that. That's the problem with using vertical speed. You can accidentally, if you're not careful, get it to stall. The autopilots are not very smart. It will stall the aircraft if it's trying to maintain a specific vertical speed. And we need a heading a bit more to the right, apparently, so we're getting a bit off track. About 13 miles away from Shelbyville. Looks like I can't get any sort of ident for the DME, so we're going to have to assume that is correct. Normally, you'd get an ident, same Morse code. So we're going to have to just pretend that it works. It is a VFR flight, so it's not essential that we have it, but it's a nice tool to have. But if it was IFR, you couldn't really use it unless you could properly identify it. But normally you'd hear it every 30 seconds. 1,000 feet to go. Yep, there's the tone. Oil pressure's looking good, oil temperature's looking good, so the engine's sounding good. And we'll just change our heading slightly more to the right. Good. Looking good. Alright, we got 500 feet to go. And it's because the next leg is hemispherical. It's hemispherical for the next leg, because this is a short leg. And part of the reason I wanted to do this flight actually was to use the IFR charts. I'm not sure how people feel about VFR pilots using IFR charts, but as far as planning goes, I think it's a good thing. 231 is our next sector, so what I'll do is 231 in this one here. Yeah, I see no harm in VFR pilots using IFR charts as long as they can interpret them correctly. There are a few things that are actually quite handy and these rudder pedals are way too sensitive. I really don't like them. That's slowing the nose. Yeah, if you can interpret the charts, I see no harm in using them. But obviously, if you're doing a VFR flight, you still need to have your VFR charts with you. Okay, it's leveling off. I'll start accelerating, and I'll pull the power back just a little bit. Back to 23. mixture a little bit. See if we get any extra RPM out of it, which we should. Oh, that's too much. I think that's fine. Alright. Yeah, that's interesting. We're not getting the ground speed. Interesting. I'll turn it off and turn it back on. Nope. Alright. Alright, so we are tracking towards the nav aid. Now, I was trying to get back on track, so I'll put the heading back a bit. So about there. Let's see, we're at 6,500 feet. The airport is Shelbyville. 800 feet, so we'll call it 1,000. So we're about 5,500 feet above the VOR. So it's going to be probably 0.8, 0.9 when we're overhead. It's slant range, it's not GPS range along the ground, it's the distance between the aircraft and the actual nav aid. So when we're overhead, we're going to be about 5,500 feet above it, 6,000 feet per mile. That's just approximate. 0.8, 0.9 when we're overhead. Okay, so we're drifting a bit left the track just a little bit, so I'll just put the heading back here. Alright, we've got a bit of time. I could do the clear off checks. Oh, there's the cruise checks as well. So the cruise power set, mixture is lean, instruments are looking good. So clear off checks. Oops, it's a bit high. 16, about 163 is our heading. 6. Yeah, that's about right. I think that's aligned still with the compass. It's good. So clear off checks, compass is aligned log. Well, we're 5 miles away. We'll get it fixed. I actually forgot to take note at the time when we departed. We can get a time fix when we're overhead, so until then I can't really do all accurate log. The engine, it is set 2300 RPM, mixture's leaned, oil temperature's looking good, oil pressure's also looking good. The altimeter, it is set to 29092. We'll get the altimeter setting for our destination when we're getting close to Bloomington. Radios, we've got the nav aid set up for Shelbyville, and we've also got the standby set up for Bloomington, or the Hoosier VOR, which is the next one we're going to. Orientation, visually, kind of hard to see. Everything looks the same around here. There's nothing distinguishable about mountains or lakes or anything like that that are distinct. I am comfortably knowing we are going in the right direction just because of not only the nav aid, but the direction we're going. So orientation wise, I'm comfortable where things are going. That's probably Shelbyville in front of us up there. That would be about right. Fuel, we have plenty of fuel and we've only got one option, is on and off. So there's no fuel tanks to change, there's no fuel pumps to put on or off. So we're good there. That's the clear off checks. Obviously I'll need to take note of the time once we're overhead, the nav aid, which is obviously not far away now. But still tracking pretty well. And once we're overhead, we're going to track 231. So we'll be making a right-hand turn, 231, once we're overhead. So beautiful day to fly. Doesn't get any better than this. All right, 1.7. So I estimated about 0.9. We'll probably start the turn at about 1. 1.0. 2, 3, 1. And you can see we're starting to get off track a little bit, but there's no point chasing our needle when you're this close. Linabet, it's probably right below us, just about. There's Shelbyville Airport, and the VOR is around here somewhere. So yeah, we're very close, obviously. So almost at 1. I'd say we start our turn now. 3-1. Unfortunately, with this autopilot, it usually turns it faster than rate 1. I don't know why. Come on. And we see the needle, shot through the needle, but the 2-3 we're on the outbound leg, but that's okay. We are very, very close to the nav. So, yep, obviously we've got passage. Just call it 1-6. I'll come up with an estimate shortly. Overhead at 1-6. And let's just try and intercept that. So we'll go to about there. Two, 3, 1. You can see what we're actually on right now. 215. We're not far off it. About there. So as soon as we, these pedals are just way too sensitive for my liking. Sorry about that. This makes the flying look bad. Alright, there we go. So we got movement on the needle. Should probably just take my feet off the pedals, it might actually help. Oop, look at those. Jeez. There's got to be some way I can fix the sensitivity of the rudder pedals. They're just dreadful. Alright, let's go 2, 3, 1. It's about there. Now I'll switch nav to Hoosier. Yep, we're receiving it. It's down here. What's that? Oh, jeez. Let's listen again. That's Oscar Mike, 110.2, and it's been identified. Yep, that's good. We don't need to listen to that anymore. Excellent. That's confirmed. And using the IFR chart, which I like using, from this, what we get is it's 47 nautical miles between the two nav aids. Now, there's 3 different minimum altitudes you can fly on this route. The first one with the asterisk is the MOCA, M-O-C-A, which is the minimum obstacle clearance altitude. However, for any VFR pilots that make reference to these charts, you've got to know that that's only valid for distances up to 22 nautical miles from either nav aid. Anything outside of that, it's not valid. Now, I think it's kind of strange to have a MOCA here, but I can see it more out west with the big mountains and whatnot. But that's what it is, MOCA. That's guaranteed obstacle clearance up to 1,000 feet in non-mountainous terrain, up to 4 nautical miles either side of track, but only up to 22 nautical miles from nav aid. So there's no guarantee you're going to have any reception beyond 22 miles. You need to have reception for the entire length. I think the reason they have these is the first 22 nautical miles will give you a chance to get up to the MEA, which is 6,000 feet in this particular case. The MEA is the minimum en route altitude. That guarantees you obstacle clearance of more than 1,000 feet, of up to 4 nautical miles either side of track, but also it guarantees the signal coverage for the entire sector between the two nav aids. Now, The obstacle clearance, the obstacles in this area are not very high. So the fact that it's 6,000 would suggest to me that it's so that you're guaranteed to have signal coverage for the entire length. Now, if you look here at Bloomington, the two sectors on Victor 305 and Victor 221, which is what we're on, 053 is not usable. And I'm guessing there's probably some obstacle on the way that might be blocking the signal. Just a guess. Either way, as an IFR, you can't use it. But we're VFR, so we're okay. So if we were to lose coverage, yeah, there's no issue, that's fine. We can still have this chart here. But the 4000 in blue, 4000G, that's the MEA for GPS. So that's the minimum altitude you need to fly, not only for obstacle coverage, up to 4 miles either side of the track, but it's probably the minimum altitude you need to fly for guaranteed signal coverage. Since the MEA is 6,000 feet for this leg, that's why I chose 6,500, because hemispherical, travelling in a more than 179 degrees magnetic, it's an even plus 500. And so far we're tracking pretty good. And we've been shooting identified the Hoosier VOR, which is in Bloomington. As you see, that's showing 2 in towards the nav aid. And we're still tuned into the Shelbyville VOR nav 1. And you can see we're from. There you go. That's the direction we are from the nav aid. And that's the direction we're flying towards the nav aid. Hopefully that didn't confuse it too much, but that's okay. Let's see, this sector is total 47 nautical miles between the two nav aids. So we can round that up to 50, so make it 25 is halfway. So at 25 DME, I'll switch over from nav 1. I'll switch it to the Hoosier VOR. Because obviously you can see we are receiving it already. The closer you get to a nav aid, the more accurate it gets, and the further away you get, the less accurate it gets. So you switch over at halfway. There are switchover points. This one doesn't have one, but the changeover point between nav aids. Let's see if I can find one. No. If there's no indication of a changeover point between two nav aids, you just do it at halfway. This doesn't have one. I don't see any. There's one. Whenever you see those, that's a changeover point for your nav aids. That's where you switch over, changeover point. Because this sector is pretty short, you just do it halfway. So I just do it at 2.5. Which is about 10 miles away. Alright, as we're struggling with our rudder pedals, we can just double check here to make sure it's all looking good. We will be crossing to the right hand side of a lake before we catch sight of the actual town, and the airport is beyond that town, probably about 3 miles beyond the town. Yeah, that's a good guess. And this will be making our left hand turn at track 161. So there is a lake in front of us, it's looking good. Looks like we're going to the far right of it. Excellent. So it's looking good so far. That looks like a township. Awesome. Of course, the airport's a bit beyond that. And then we'll make our left turn. So it's all looking good. Alright, so we're approaching 25 nautical miles, which is it's a little bit beyond the halfway mark. So at 25, I was just going to switch VORs. And for whatever reason, I'm having difficulty with the rudders because the ball is going from extreme one side to the other. I'm not sure why. I'm not even moving my feet. It shouldn't even be doing this. So I think something's not loaded correctly. I'm sure you don't have this problem in real life. Alright, we're approaching 25. So VOR1, we'll switch to Hoosier VOR. And we have confirmation. Let's have one. tuned and identified. And also with regards to this flight, this sector, we are approaching the large lake, so we should be on the, as far as lake's perspective, we should be on the far right side of it, which we are. And the town is actually just beyond that lake, and the airport is just beyond that town, probably about 3 miles beyond that town. So you can see there is a built-up area. So the airport should be, let's have a look here, in relation to the lake, the town. Should be around about there somewhere. So I think we're heading in the general direction. That's good. It's awesome. That's good news. So we're 20 miles out from the VOR, and the numbers are decreasing, which is another confirmation we are also tuned into the correct nav aid. And on track as far as 231 is concerned. And temperatures and pressures are still looking good. The engine's sounding good. Don't forget to keep track of the sound. Listen to the engine as well. Alright, once we get overhead, we're going to track 161. So what I'll do is, for nav 2, put 161 here now. So we're still tracking by nav 1. That's about 161 there. Just double check. Yeah, that looks about right. That's good. Just ignore the rudder ball. It's playing up. I'm not even moving my feet and the ball's moving from side to side, so I don't know what's going on there. I kid you not, if you can fly this thing, you can definitely fly in real life. 240. Slight freeze for a moment. 0. There we go. Excellent. 18 miles to go. So far the flight's looking good. And this is opposite the lake we're planning on flying over in the town. The airport will be a bit beyond it. That's probably the airport there. And that's Lake Munro over there, which is actually a really nice area. It's surrounded by a bunch of trees, just like this area. And this time of the year, it looks absolutely beautiful with all the trees changing colours. Just under 14 miles from the VOR. It's looking good so far, still maintaining altitude. Engine's looking good. Still on track. Visually confirmation, the lake is just off to our left. We're on the very edge of it, which is correct. There's the town of Bloomington. And the airport is just beyond it. That's it there. Yeah, that looks like it there. The runway that way and that one. That's it. Awesome. Is the nav aid actually on the field? It is. Yep. Nav aid. The nav aid's actually on the airfield. I don't know why that popped up. The brakes are on too. Why are the brakes on? Bugs. Bloomington is a Class Delta airspace, and that airspace goes up to 3,300 feet, so obviously we're not going to be in their airspace, so we don't actually have to contact them. But out of courtesy, you probably normally would just contact them just to let them know they're just going to overfly the field and then track outbound. But it's not a requirement. Being Class Delta, it is on radar, so it's tower frequency and ground frequency only. So it's probably about time we got the AWOS for our destination of Grissom Municipal. So let's get that. Just confirm it's 119012. 119012. Yes, it is. 125.
Kilo Bravo, Foxtrot Romeo, automated weather observation 1300 Zulu. Wind calm. Visibility 9er. Sky condition clear. Temperature 15 Celsius. Dew point 13 Celsius. Altimeter 29092.
9092. Excellent.
Kilo Bravo, Fox.
And 22.8, I believe that's the CTAF. 22.8, yes it is. Elevation of 727. However, it says in the AFD the pattern altitude's 1,500 feet. There was no mention of right-hand patterns, so therefore we'll just do left-hand patterns, whatever runway we go with. In fact, what runway are we going to use? The 0624, which is long enough. 1331. 331 is probably going to be best. What's our track again? What's the outbound track? 161. Probably 13. That'll be the easiest. So pattern altitude is about 1,500 feet, so we're going to lose 5,000 feet, so 5,500 feet a minute. So 10 minutes, plus add a minute. Well, make it 12 minutes. The estimates en route from BMG to VFR is let's see, it's 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But actually, we're going to pretty much start our descent as soon as we're established on the outbound track, really. So that's fine. That's cool. And we'll expect to use runway 13, which is the short. Is that the shorter runway? I think it was. No, 13. No, it's the long one. Either way, they're both fine. Obviously, in real life, you'd be monitoring Bloomington Airport. So if for whatever reason you had to divert there right away, you already know what runway they're using, etc. But obviously in the sim, we don't have to worry about that. 3 miles to go. And actually, what's the elevation of this place? Bloomington. Where's the info? Yeah, okay, just call it 1,000 feet, so about 5,500 feet above it, so it's going to be less than 1, so about 0.8, 0.9 overhead. Thereabouts. Which is fine. The sim looks really good. But hopefully the Microsoft 2024 will take care of a few of the bugs, like the rudder issues. I'm just keeping my feet as still as possible so that it doesn't do its thing that it's been doing before. Feet are actually getting kind of sore, keeping them in the same spot. I'm getting kind of sore sitting on the chair too, but I can't move, otherwise the feet will move and then it'll react. Skycatcher used to get like this in the seat too in real life. It used to get uncomfortable after a couple of hours, and so you'd have to stop just to get out and stretch your legs and just so you can stand up. Because that seat, you feel the vibrations of the engine through the seat, and it gets to you after a while. You can feel it through the rudder pedals too, and it will get to you after a while. Alright, let's go 161. Yeah, there we go. 5, 6, 7, 8, about 4, time is about 4:08. Okay, as you can see we're track that we want is off to our left, so we'll just make a slight turn to our left a bit further, not too much. And I'll update this just a moment. Middle marker. I don't know why I'm not hearing it. That's the middle marker for the ILS of Bloomington. Another confirmation. Right. There we go, 161. And let's turn back to about there. And we'll start our descent at 1,500 feet. Pull that throttle back a bit. And 400 is fine. And the RPM is just outside the green arc, so I'll pull the carburetor heat on. And of course I should have done my checks first. I'll just put the lights on anyway. Really haven't got that far to go. Just check, double check, yep, 20 nautical miles to go. And there's no MEA, use the off-route charts, 2600, and also for sector is 3200. But of course, we're VFR, so we're good anyway. Descent power. I might just push the mixture rich now. Power's back. The descent mixture is rich. Fuel is on. Carburetor heat is on. ATIS we have. Altimeter is set to the same altimeter of 29902. Instruments are looking good so far. And I need to turn a bit to the right, go to the track here. This road actually, as far as I know, does lead to the town. Yep, crosses our left to right and goes a bit away from our track. Leads to the town. That's probably it there, hang on. Either way, I think we're looking good so far. Speed not too slow, it's looking good. Distance is 20 nautical miles. So we got 6.5, so just under 14 to go. And keeping an eye on that track. Gotta turn back a bit because we don't want to follow that road. It does move away from our direction. I don't want to descend too quickly. Need to spot the airport first. We're going to aim for runway 13. And obviously, we know it's 20 miles away, so it's about 13. It's closer to 12 now. And we're north of the airport. Imagine the airport's in the middle there. That's the direction we're heading, so therefore we're that in relation to the airport, we're to the north. And what's the name of this airport again? Grissom Municipal. Grissom Municipal, Cessna 152 Alpha Sierra Hotel is about 12 miles to the north, inbound for a full stop landing. Grissom Municipal. Just a heads up. Oh, that I'm coming in. COM 2, 22.8. Just make sure the AWOS hasn't changed.
Kilo Bravo, Foxtrot Romeo, automated weather observation 1300 Zulu. Wind calm. Visibility 9er. Sky condition clear. Kilo Bravo, Foxtrot Romeo.
It resets. Okay, it doesn't do that in real life. It's just a constant recording, but that's okay. Alright. The tracking's looking pretty good on the nav aid, so that's cool. The road's just off to our right. There's the town there, and the airport in relation to the town. It's just beyond it, and a bit to the right, left of the town. Far past it. Be around here somewhere. There's hot air balloon out there. And there's another one just off to our right. That's pretty cool. I don't know if they do any ballooning in this area in real life, but that's pretty cool though. Just to the left of the town and just beyond it. So, that's it there. Yeah, it looks like 9 miles. So we're 11, so we've got 9 miles to go. Grissom Municipal traffic, Cessna 152 Alpha Sierra Hotel is about 9 miles to the north inbound for a land on runway 13, Grissom Municipal. Let's keep descending. Bumped the throttle by mistake, so that messed everything up. We're still tracking it right on the VOR here. Still have reception, there's no flag for the actual VOR. That's the airport there. We'll be joining a crosswind. The base. Straight on the final land. Obviously, keep an eye on that balloon. We don't want to go too close to that balloon. Alright, we're still tracking pretty good. VOR there. Looks nice. Double check that was the airport. Oh, that's it there. Okay. I'm not sure what I was looking at. That looks more like it. Yep. Okay. Very good. For some reason I was thinking it was over here. Alright. And that would be runway 13 right there. Awesome. And let's see, that's the centre of the airport, so we're about kind of more northwest now. 5 miles. Grissom Municipal traffic. Cessna 152 Alpha Sierra Hotel's about 5 miles to the northwest, inbound for a landing runway 13, Grissom Municipal Airport. Alright, we need to lose 1500 feet to get the pattern altitude, so we're a little high, but that's okay. No worries. Still don't want to descend too quickly. It's really uncomfortable when you have to descend fast. 500 feet per minute is a nice rate of descent. Or thereabouts. Alright, pre-landing checks, brakes working off, undercarriage it is down and locked, mixture is rich, fuel selector is on, instruments are looking good, we're all looking good here, switches are on both, hatches, harnesses, they're all secure. Land. Just keep that runway in sight. Well, originally the intention of this video was to use an IFR chart for a VFR flight, which I actually don't see any issue with that as long as you can interpret the charts correctly, but I've never heard anyone actually speak about that for VFR planning, because the IFR charts actually give you a lot of information and it makes planning very quickly. And it gives you nice minimum altitudes, etc. I enjoy using IFR charts for VFR flying. It's easy to fly the routes. You just have to pick the correct altitudes for your hemispherical direction, but I see no harm in it as long as you can interpret them correctly. But obviously, you got to keep a visual chart with you at all times. Obviously, I've made reference to that throughout this flight as well. Grissom Municipal, Cessna 152 Alpha Sierra Hotel's on a 2-mile final for runway 13 full stop, Grissom Municipal. Alright, we're in the wide arc. We can put the first stage of flaps out, but don't climb. Don't want to climb. They do that in real life. Put flaps out, wants to climb. Like, no. Don't want to climb. 2 stages of flaps. I don't know if you want full flaps in this thing, because they're pretty big flaps. Same in the 150. Yes, thank you, autopilot. Now the PAPI's in the other direction, and according to the NOTAM, it's in op. So I don't expect a PAPI on this side. Although there might be one, I don't know. We're getting a bit low now. Just a tad. Alright, we're on final. Let's just put the carburetor head off. So if we have to go around, we have as much power as needed as we can get. Oh, I can pull the throttle off now, I think. And try not to land flat. Yeah, that sounded pretty good. Yeah, there's a bit of a slope in this runway. Okay, pretty good. A nice airport. I don't think I'd have to apply power to find a taxiway. I have a feeling this is scenery I've downloaded from flightsim.to, because this is looking too nice for a default airport. Don't get me wrong, some of the default airports actually look pretty good, but this is looking better than that. See when we pull up. But so far it's looking like someone handcrafted this one. Every time I turn this thing, it sounds like it's going to break. Yay, I just turned onto the other runway. That's awesome. Grissom Municipal traffic. Cessna 152 Alpha Sierra Hotel is clear of runway 13, but on the other runway. So, that was a mistake there. Not to worry. It's alright. Oh yeah, someone built this one. I must have downloaded it. I've not actually flown to this airport in real life, so I should do so one day. Because it looks pretty cool. Just pull out of the front of this FBO or administration building. Actually, you'd probably park over here. More likely. So, let's just slow right down. Face towards the building. And I think this looks like a pretty good spot right there. As well, it's probably not straight. That will annoy me in real life, but that's okay. We're in the sim. Parking brakes on. Turn that off. We can turn that off, that off. Strobes. I should have turned the strobes off earlier. Wait, turn the radio, all the radios off. All the avionics. There's no master switch. It takes a little while to turn them all off. Okay, that's all of that. The nav light can come off, and we'll pull the mixture. The mags are off. Battery off. Alternator off. Master switch is off. Oh, that's better. Okay, let's have a look outside. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. Let's go. So we get the... Oh, too much sunlight there. There we go. It's looking pretty cool. Alright, well, that was a pretty cool little VFR flight. Had a bit of trouble with the autopilot chasing the heading bug, so the rudder pedals were playing up. But besides that, that was actually a pretty cool little flight. So hopefully you got something out of it. So hopefully you got something out of looking at those IFR charts. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you got something out of it. So I'll see you later.